I'm JJ Perez with Inside Runner Sports. That's Greg Lucas, San Antonio Express News. We are coming to you from the Alamo Dome following UTSA's 34-31 win over UAB. A thrilling win, Greg. One of the most dramatic games I think I've ever watched.
It was exhilarating. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't imagine being a fan of this team, what that would have been like.
5 lead changes, 3 ties, and it looked like the Roadrunners were dead in the water after a controversial replay on a 3rd down pass that was ruled incomplete, and then a 4th down pass where it looked like there was pass interference, only for the Roadrunners defense to come up with a huge stand and a crazy 77-yard, 7-play drive to win the game at the end.
Well, let's get into the different pieces of that. The first thing you said, I really thought Sakari, it looked like on that 3rd and 10 play, it would have been like a 12-yard gain, would have got them into UAB territory and would have been on the road to, because they're trailing by 4 points at this juncture. And I really thought it looked like he got both feet in, and then it looked like on the video that he got both feet in.
There were screen grabs. It looked like it. It was crazy.
They said the call stands. It wasn't confirmed.
Yeah.
So I guess the video, they didn't feel it was conclusive enough. Maybe his toe was right on the line, whatever.
Who knows, yeah.
And then I did think that there was like an 8-yard pass they ended up throwing on 4th and 10.
Yeah, 4th and 10.
And I thought the defender got there early.
He got there early. I was standing right there, yeah.
So then UTSA turns the ball over on downs, and UAB just needs 1 first down to seal the game. And they had run the ball pretty well throughout the game. I don't know what the average was, but
5.5, and it was 4th and a chain link, literally a chain link, and they decide to punt.
Correct. They held them to 9.9 yards on the 3 carries, and I really did think that they were going to go for it there, and I don't know how much of a factor was maybe some indecision. I don't believe they had any timeouts, and so it ended up taking a delay of game, and probably just thought about it too long. And it's obviously not going to go for it on 4th and 5 and inches. It's different from 4th and inches. And so they ended up electing to punt. And, Bill Clark said in his postgame that they would do that 100 times out of 100.
Wow.
Because they trust the defense to hold UTSA from marching 77 yards with no timeouts in 1 minute and 6 seconds. And they were wrong.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Frank Harris
should have went for it.
It was crazy because Oscar Cardenas had not been targeted in the game before this drive. And they hit him down the middle for
33 yards.
I think his was 20-something, 29 maybe.
29.
And then
JT Clark
down
for
the
33.
left sideline for 33.
A 9-yard rush up the middle where it looked like he was going to punch it in, and he got stopped. He said he should have made a move, but there was something like 5 defenders there.
I was trying to get my gamer together at this point, but I guess there was 6 seconds left, or they ended up putting 9 seconds left.
Yeah,
but
it was
UAB's
probably about 12 seconds when he gets up.
Yeah.
So
if UAB's guy doesn't get hurt, were they going to have time to clock it
I think so.
Was that the idea?
Yeah.
Or they could have just tempoed him and run a play and tried to sneak it in?
That was a 2nd down play, 2nd and goal.
Yeah.
It was 1st and goal, the run, 2nd, so the pass was a 3rd down.
They would have... No, because it was an incomplete pass.
Yeah,
you're
right.
So the pass was 3rd down.
Yeah.
So they would have clocked it on 2nd down,
and
then they would have done the same thing. But it ended up being that UAB's guy kind of looked injured or stayed down. Jeff Traylor said there might have been something afoot there.
Yeah.
But the result is that UTSA has 9 seconds, and they throw 1 incomplete pass.
Yeah.
And then this final play, which is going to go down forever in UTSA history, the snap is low. Frank Harris has to pick it up off the ground.
I think he dropped it.
It was low, though.
Yeah, he caught it. It was low, and he dropped it.
And at that point, I kind of figured the play was doomed.
Yeah.
Because you just don't usually see
the timing.
When you're that close, the timing is so critical. And it did throw off the timing enough that the linebacker was able to kind of drop into coverage.
Oscar Cardenas was wide open.
He was wide open,
so wide open. It was a great play design.
The fake block
and then slipped out. And, I mean, it was, for a guy that dropped a touchdown pass last week, for him to make that play, how huge was that? It was crazy.
And the ball, it seems like it's an easy catch because the ball just fell to him so gently after the deflection, but you do have to have some concentration, and it's a huge moment, and he's not a guy. None of them have played in a game of this magnitude.
Yeah.
That's first of all. And then secondly, a player who's not targeted on an every down basis the way he is, to be able to be the go-to guy and to deliver in that situation, it was huge for him, and he said as much after the game. I think he said it was just like an amazing feeling, and you never would think that he's going to be the guy. But it was funny to hear Frank say that they're roommates, and he always tells him you're going to catch a touchdown pass today.
Yeah.
And then this one, he catches the biggest play in program history.
Following the game, it was mayhem. The celebration, the history, they get a trophy. I want to unpack that later. I want to talk about the play of this game, or the playing of this game, the offense bounced back 300 and something yards. Frank looked sharp today, much better
Frank
performance than last week, and he really led them in this game. He paced them. We didn't see a lot of Sincere McCormick. The three-headed wide receiver monster was pretty good with J.T. Clark, Cephas, and Franklin with the casual 2-touchdown game.
Yeah.
One-hander there in the corner. But, I mean, the offense just really key in helping, I think, the defense on a night when UAB was pretty stout offensively.
Yeah, Frank made a bunch of really outstanding passes, I thought. And there was some the one down the middle of the field with Zakari for the touchdown, and just generally last week it just felt like for whatever reason the timing was off, or his accuracy was a little bit not there, or whatever it was, that things weren't connecting.
Right.
And this game was the Frank that we've seen all season that's proven that he can carry them to the win. And he finished, let's see here, 25 of 36, 323 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
So, I mean, you can't ask for much more from him, especially because, like you mentioned, the running game just wasn't really clicking at a very high level. Sincere averaged 3.2 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And, did enough to keep the defense honest, but Frank really had to kind of carve them up through the air, and he did it.
When this game started, you and I kind of turned together and had a look on our face because UAB was really good in this game. I mean, they were hard to stop. I think they put up 200 yards offensively, 400 yards at halftime, and that quarterback was on one tonight.
This game was every bit as advertised, and a couple weeks ago we were talking about how UTSA always shows up no matter the circumstances, and again, Southern Miss was the first time they looked fallible. It was like the worst performance I thought they had, but this was UTSA in top form, and this was UAB in top form too. It must have been, because they pushed this team to the limit, and that's not a team. This UAB team that we saw couldn't have possibly lost to Rice. I don't know how they lost to Rice. But
unbelievable.
This is a team that is at a really high level, and this is the peak of Conference USA football. This is what G5 football is all about, and this was a game that delivered on all the hype, and it's a shame it was on ESPN Plus and not somewhere people could watch it, but it was a remarkable game, and I thought both teams are as strong as everybody thought they were.
I don't know what adjustments UTSA's defense made in the second half, but they certainly limited them with 125 yards of total offense in the second half.
Yeah, and it was 347 in the first, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff said something about slanting. I guess it might have been the way they were handling different kind of blocking schemes and the way they were sort of working on the gaps. But it did seem like tackling was part of the issue. The UAB's back went 215, and it seemed like there were times that he was able to run through some tackles or just generally get some extra yards here and there. And Clarence Hicks said they just kind of had to focus on tackling and wrapping up and do a better job of that, and that made all the difference. And, Jeff Traylor said kind of the same thing, like they just had enough of it, basically. And they just came out a lot more fired up. I mean, you saw the first drive of the second half. I think that was it Brandon Brown made the big hit in the backfield,
big buff.
And then there was some other big play right after that I think Dantzler came up with the sack, and it was like, this is going to be a turning point. And we actually thought that UTSA could take control of the game there, and they ended up not. And it came down to
couple
the wire,
of missed offensive opportunities there. But
because UAB's defense kind of got it going as well.
Right.
UTSA scored, I think, the first drive out of halftime in less than a minute.
Yeah.
But after that, there were a few stops there. The guys were kind of trading stops back and forth.
I think that's kind of an underrated part of this game is how the defense in the second half gave UTSA's offense a chance.
Right.
Because there were three lead changes at the end between the end of the third quarter and the fourth.
Well, certainly. UAB scored on 4 out of 5 drives in the first half, and then in the second half, I think they went 1 for 6 basically.
Clarence Hicks. Big game, 2 sacks. I think 3, but they changed the sack.
One of those ones is like where the quarterback's running with it, so they give him a tackle for loss.
Jamal Ligon with his first interception there. So some big plays. It was I guess a good overall game for the Roadrunners. They showed up the hype this week, like the magnitude of UTSA's never played in a game like this in a program, and none of these players had ever beaten UAB. Right. And I think that's the biggest thing to get that monkey off their back, right?
I really thought the championship game experience would matter a lot. If you're looking at UAB and how they've won the West Division 3 times in a row, and they won the league title in 2018 and 2020, this is a team that has played in all these games where it's if we win, we move on. Once you get late in the season, there are these playoff-type games where you need to win them to maintain that standing and to potentially, win the league championship, and they've played in those 3 actual championship games, and UTSA hasn't done that. For as much success as they had last year, it was not ever a situation where it was like this is a win and you're in kind of game like they face today. And so to see them be pretty comfortable, I thought, with that moment, that they didn't really shy away from it, or that there was no signs that they were rattled and weren't able to compete, especially when the other team comes out and scores on the second play from scrimmage.
Yeah.
You think if ever it's going to happen where they're going to get rattled and it's going to show that they're not used to the pressure moment, maybe, and it just wasn't, and they answered. So, yeah, all the respect in the world to them for being ready for this scenario and delivering, is it their best game of the year? Maybe. It's the hardest competition they faced.
Biggest win, I think, so far ever.
Yeah.
So this is where we sit, by the way, where we're standing in the games. And I just wanted to ask you, because I need you as my witness, this table right here was shaking.
Yeah, at one point it was. Yeah. It was very loud.
35,000.
I thought it was substantially louder than last week. People said last week's was deafening, and I didn't want to use the word deafening ever, but this one was very loud.
I mean, we were yelling at each other, trying to communicate, and I mean, I was down on the field. You couldn't hear anything at the end of the game. It was nuts.
And I think there was 3 false starts.
Yeah.
They did have an impact. And honestly, UAB converted a lot of those anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times you could directly trace it to a stop, but
a few delayed games, they called a timeout. You wonder if that has an impact at the end of the game, especially.
No, it was certainly important, even just from the energy.
Yeah. I mean, the buzz, and I mean, it's one thing to have this many. 35,147, the 5th all-time.
And the highest ever for a Conference USA game.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because you have to remember, like,
all those
a lot
Power
of times
Fives,
it's based on who they're playing.
Right.
Like, Baylor's going to bring out people.
Yeah.
The Army game got people excited
Oklahoma
because
State,
of that.
Yeah.
And so to do it for a conference game just says that you're in contention and that matters. And we'll see what happens with the title game. I know you were saying maybe there's something with pricing.
Yeah, tickets. These things are, like, not highly attended historically, but I mean, how many times do you have a situation like this with an undefeated team? Kind of the energy. Coach Traylor talked all this week about the city kind of buying in, and it seems like more and more that's coming to fruition.
Yeah, because it was early on. The students were the first to get there.
Yeah.
And well, I guess you should say the band was the first to get there, because that's his triangle. It's the band and the students in the city, and so. Obviously the band shows up every week. That's kind of their job.
Yeah.
And then the students got on board with this team pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We would see that section start to be among the fullest
they
sections in the
had the
stadium.
200 section filled for the most part too with the students.
And then now we've seen, as we get to this point, that the city at large seems to be getting on board. And I don't know, what the ceiling is.
Yeah.
If how that continues, what the Conference USA title game could look like.
Yeah.
But man, like, if they can get this many people, it gives them a tremendous home field advantage.
I think your colleague Mike Finger wrote a fantastic column after the game about how if this is the ceiling, that's okay, because it really doesn't matter. They just have to kind of live in the moment. I mean, the atmosphere around this facility, like downtown, is popping. It's been like that the last 2 weeks. They're playing good. They're winning. Now they're in contention for conference title. Jeff Traylor got the ice bath after the game. They had celebration with the band. First time going to a conference championship, like, in earnest, to be able to compete. They've been in the hunt several times, but this is the first real shot they have at winning.
Well, I mean, it was 2 years ago that we were in here for games where they were 28-point underdogs or whatever at home.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the environment just wasn't what it is now. And I thought there was a big game feel here today. And that's could just be something I'm imagining because we know what the stakes are and all that. But just the atmosphere outside, and then obviously once the game got rolling, it's just remarkable how far Coach Traylor has taken this program just in a couple of years to get this to the point where it's a primetime attraction and a place that you want to be. And, what could have been more exciting than the way this whole game played out?
Crazy.
And it really did feel like, I think he called it like a heavyweight fight.
Yeah.
Where you're just kind of trading blows, and nobody ever had a 2-score lead, I don't think.
Yeah.
Unless I'm forgetting. So, yeah, it was everything it was built to be, and it just delivered.
It was kind of a serious tone in the week leading up to this game. Did you feel, especially from Jeff Traylor, that he was either more focused or more worried about this one? And he kind of revealed that in post-game a little, that it kind of got to him. I don't know the pressure, but he was just, focused on the X's and O's, I think.
We did the whole, did you talk about the CFP ranking?
Yeah.
Or did you talk about the pressure? Or did you talk about
Didn't
whatever?
even get to it
And it's just
week.
we're just looked at, because UAB demands all of your attention. And I think that they were just kind of locked in every sense of the word, and completely ready to meet this challenge today.
Again in the post game, Coach Traylor did get a little emotional when talking about what the win meant to him. What do you take away from that?
I just nobody really could have imagined that they would rally this level of success and this level of support too. Yeah. And I think that I don't know how he's defining this, but he does get the sense that like the people who are here are really invested, and that they care about the team, that they connect with the players and what they're about and that message. And I don't know, how that's different from what it would look like if a fan wasn't like that, but that's the feeling that he gets, and I think that's where that emotional connection comes from. And it's partly also, I think, the situation with it being senior day, and thinking about. The message this week was we have to out-culture UAB. Mm-hmm. And in the summer, especially with the 12 super seniors who came back, the message was, as the expectations rise, our culture has to rise to match it. It's pretty much a direct quote. And the reason you are allowed to come back for that extra year is because Coach Traylor believes you are somebody who can build that culture to a higher level. That was their goal. And to see that kind of actualized in the realest way possible today on senior day, I think sort of validated the extent to which all these guys 2 years ago bought into him in a way that isn't a given, and that they didn't need to. Because I myself and probably a lot of other people were like, who is this high school coach with all of his goofy pillars and his 5 fingers pound the fist thing? But the players didn't feel that way. They were on board with it from the start, and it has delivered for them. This triangle business is really taken off.
What a time, man! Never in my wildest dreams did I think I had the 6-6 prediction, and everybody likes to remind me of that. But
nobody was on this.
Yeah, nobody was on this. 10 games 9 games at the most and that was wild.
Yeah.
And here we are, looking at 12-0, right in the face. 12-0, we could say it now. They play a bad North Texas team next week, and in 2 weeks...
You don't want to take that one as a given.
Right, you don't, right. But in 2 weeks, on Friday night, prime time, CBS Sports, the Roadrunners are hosting the title game in this building, and that is amazing.
And I know you've said this a bunch of times, and Jeff has credited you for saying this a bunch of times, but enjoy this moment if you're a UTSA fan, because... Not just is it so rare to have this confluence of talent and leadership and coaching and all of these things that don't typically last forever, but
everything
the schedule gets harder too, and there's just a million reasons that it won't be this way. UTSA is not a team or a program that is going to be ranked if it loses any games. And in future years, it's going to be a lot harder to get through non-conference or even the American Conference slate.
That's undefeated. What made this game so pressure-packed, because everything they built to this point could have gone away.
They couldn't. Yeah, they would have not even been in the title game.
Exactly.
For going 10-0, you would even not even be in your title game.
And how many times are you going to have a low snap with 6 seconds, pick it up off the carpet, get the ball tipped, and throw it in for the game-winning score?
Right. It wouldn't have worked if it went smoothly, right? Yeah. But it's incredible because, on Monday, Jeff said to us, I have a sneaking feeling this game's going to come down to the very last play.
And he said a couple of things.
Does this? Yeah. He did last week on the radio show. He said Leroy Watson's going to make a huge catch at some point this year.
And
he did tie the game against Southern Miss with the 20-something yarder down the middle. And then against Western Kentucky, this one's the weirdest one to me, is they just I think it was the morning of, they did the walkthrough, and they practiced victory formation from their own 1-yard line. Because, obviously you can't back it up and take a knee the way you would want to. But it's such a weird scenario that you would never expect to get into. And a few hours later, they have to do victory formation from their own 1-yard line. And there's something just this guy got some uncanny, weird, prophetic situation going on that, again, it's just never going to be like that again. You can't. It's not a sustainable type of way of being. And not just because this game could have been turned any number of ways, or Western Kentucky could have turned any number of ways, or a few other games on the schedule could have not gone their way. And again, like we said a few minutes ago, one loss and everything's different. But they've dodged the landmines every step of the way, and they've played awesome every step of the way, and that's a good combination to stay undefeated.
Yep. Did we hit on everything today?
Who could hit on everything?
It was
today?
Nuts. It was nuts. I would have never. my wildest dreams, I never thought we'd be standing.
We're gonna have to go
11-0.
back over the list of who went through senior day things to see.
Who's maybe coming back.
Who's maybe coming back.
I don't know if that indicates anything, to be honest.
Yeah,
with
you might go through it and then decide later. I want to come back.
Yeah,
like you have to do it just in case, right?
Yeah.
But Frank didn't go through any yet.
He did not, and he announced this week that he's coming back. So.
But he had already kind of made that clear through the season.
Yeah.
But he did put that out there on the. So
on
funny,
the line.
like just a reply to somebody else, and everybody sees it.
On a random Thursday.
Very funny.
Yeah.
That I don't know if he intended that to blow up as a news story.
And it did. There it went. So.
But yeah, man, Zakari played awesome, and
yeah,
Zakorian Clark played awesome, and
yeah, I think it's man, we're in a good spot. The Roadrunners 11-0. North Texas on the road next week.
Yeah, I mean North Texas is gonna be fired up.
Yeah,
and this is
it'll be their game of the year. To
guess what it is?
Off.
It's a trap game. Because they already know they're in the Conference USA title game.
There's my storyline this week, I guess.
So I mean, listen, you and me both. I think it certainly already today.
My storyline.
Already today, they were talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's.
Yeah.
It's the first time they're not talking
Yeah.
about the next game, but they are.
Yeah.
They are talking about how the Conference USA title game is going to be here because obviously it's important. It's a huge accomplishment, so it's impossible to not look forward to that. They're going to have shirts like that, Conference USA, whatever.
I mean, they had a trophy, so I didn't even know there was a trophy, but here we are.
So, essentially, there's going to be a situation to be on the lookout because North Texas would like nothing more in the world. They would salvage their whole season
by knocking off the
Roadrunners there and. You know, again, wouldn't change that they're in the Conference USA title game, but it would end this undefeated run.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll wrap it up this week here at the Alamo Dome. Greg, I appreciate you doing this all season long. We'll do it again next week for the final time in the regular season.
And probably 2 more after that.
And probably 2 more after that. So we'll see how this week goes, how the rest of the season goes. We appreciate you guys watching. Greg Luca, San Antonio Express News. AJ Perez, Inside Runner Sports. Thanks for watching, guys.